All right, so we ripped through our single coil install on the DEF tank, but some people still had questions about installing duals. So rather than take some pics and talk about it, I figure why not do another install like we did with the single. So we've got some dual 4-core aliens, 4.5mm. We're going to need a 4.5mm mandrel. So we've got our coil in, right? And we got it set. So we're going to snug it up as much as possible, right nice and snug to the posts. We're going to use a 1.5mm driver. We're going to snug these up just a bit. Not fully tightened, just snugged them up. We're going to bend that coil right over here out of the way. Okay? It's up high, it's out of the way. We're going to grab our other one. It can be tricky to get the legs in, but if you get everything out of the way, it's not so bad. So all I did was I got the coil kind of really sideways. I got this leg in, and then we swung that one over and in. Again, we're going to hold it tight to the post. This one we're going to snug up good and tight. We're going to take that. I'm going to play a little back and forth kind of centering game with it. We'll go through and tweak that a little after we get this one where we want it. We're going to finish tightening up these legs. Okay, good and snug. Extra sharp pair of cutters. Cut your legs nice and close. You always want to eyeball after you cut your legs. Make sure that you got them nice and close and you don't have any stray wires hanging out. It's going to foul on anything when you put it all back together. Especially with aliens, just because there's a lot of little miscellaneous pieces of wire that come off of there. Okay. We're going to do our best to kind of align these so that they look nice and pretty and centered. You can drive yourself insane with this, by the way. Okay, so our alignment, nearly perfect, nearly perfectly centered. We're good to go. We're good to heat them. Let me just take care of these scraps. All right, check our power. Down at 20 watts. Starting to see a little bit of color come through. Nice little goldish bronze. Typically, the longer you take with break-in, the better your colors are going to be. A lot of people always ask me how do I get the most colors out of my build? This is it. If you introduce heat too fast, you kind of burn right past the whole color phase. You can also overheat them, and well, that does the same thing. Turn our wattage up a little bit, up to 35. Start to see hot spots on your outer legs. So long as you're gentle, you can manipulate coils quite a bit, especially, heavier builds such as this. This is 4 cores of 28 gauge, all tightly wound, alien clapped end. You're really gonna have to mess up and slip to really deform the coils. If you're just kind of tugging on them a little bit on the ends to get hot spots out of the legs. I usually try as much as possible to scrape very gently on the outside of the coil and strum a lot on the inside of the coil, just because you can see, where your ceramic tweezers rubbed over the top of the wire, and well, try and keep things looking nice and pretty. Part of the process of strumming too is it's working out the hot spots, but it's also creating some too by vibration and just shuffling the material around a little bit. So if we just kind of do that, all of a sudden you see how these hot spots pick up. That's not a bad thing. The more hot spots you can work out under lower wattage, the less hot spots you're going to see at higher wattage, just because you're disrupting the material. I'm not saying go grab a ball peen and smack your coils with a hammer, but a little disruption is not a bad thing. So, looking over everything, we're perfectly balanced. At this time, I'm going to go into my resistance. I'm going to resample. We went from a 0.10 initial up to a 0.19. Weird, because that's exactly what my container said they would be. Yes, that's a plug, by the way. All right, we're gonna go up to 60 watts. Again, nice and slow, nothing crazy. Not laying on the fire button. We're not getting them white hot. Just warming them up. Looking for spots. Everything looks very well balanced. This build fits very well in the deck, meaning it's not pushed too far to the outer legs, so the hot spots are minimal at that point. It's also an absolute flavor monster. We're at 90 watts on short pulses right now. I'm not seeing anything throwing up a red flag to say, hey, we need to stop and look at this. Gonna go up to 150. There we go. So some people might say, why are you dry firing coils at such a high wattage? Well, this is the wattage that we're gonna intend to run this build at. I always try and hit the wattage I'm going to vape a build at, because I know exactly what happens after you put everything back together and you think you're all set, you're wicked up, you're full of juice, and then you hit the fire button and instant hotspot. This is why. The coil simply did not see enough power during break-in process, and you had a hotspot pick up after the fact. So I always try and check my builds. Again, we're not doing long pulses. The coils aren't white hot. It's just a quick little burst. We're at 200 right now. There's one. Just those outer legs. There it is. We're broke in. We still got color. And we're ready to get wicked up. I'm just going to try and pinch this a little bit real quick. See if I don't mess it all up, but we'll see. There. Perfect. All right. Build's cooled down. We didn't lose all of our color. Got a nice bluish green hue. That hue is going to stay with the build for basically its life. I mean, unless you severely neglect it. But 4.5 millimeter. Wicking it up with Muji pads. Been hashtag Team Muji strong for over 4 years. Love the stuff. I love it, especially when wicking RTAs, because you are cutting the width of the material that you need. And so long as you're comfortable with that, you can replicate your wicking pretty much 99% of the time. What I'm doing off camera right now is just peeling the outer layer. And then I grab my ends, give it a slight little tug to break up the fibers inside. That's a little too loose. There's a specific resistance I want to feel when I'm pulling the cotton through the coil. If I don't feel that resistance, well, You just set that off to the side and use it on a smaller diameter coil later. Or just throw it away because it's, well, 4 cents a pad or something like that. Skosh wider. There we go. So the resistance I'm looking for is you can just see that coil move ever so slightly when I'm pulling the cotton through. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, cotton's in. Def tank, all I do for dual coil is I'll take my shears, I'll set them on the lip where the chimney section goes on. Set them almost flat. Snap. A little thinning, a little fluffing. Do a little side cut here, a little side cut here, a little snip off the end. Flip it, same thing, a little side cut here, side cut there, snip off the end. Hold on. Check our length. Length is perfect, so we're falling right where we want, right at that O-ring. So at first you're going to be like, oh my God, he's packing it. We're packing it. But we're packing it to make sure that our cotton is running straight down, top to bottom. It's not in there cattywampus or crooked or any of those. So we got it packed in. We're going to come underneath it. And we're going to scoot it up ever so slightly so that it's just floating on the bottom. So, see? I've got no cotton here. So our cotton is just in that wicking channel, and it's nice and bunched up here. That's exactly what we're looking for. So when you put the top cap on, it doesn't flood or leak. Okay. A little push up like a pom-pom. There we go. Def Tank, dual coil build, 4.5mm, plus wicking. Hopefully this helps anybody out that's still struggling.